Self-doubt can hold people back from reaching their full potential, whether in their careers, relationships, or personal growth. Confidence is a skill that can be developed. But what are the most effective strategies to overcome negative self-talk and build lasting self-assurance? In this interview series, I'm talking to mindset coaches, psychologists, authors, and other experts who can share actionable insights on overcoming self-doubt and cultivating confidence. As a part of this series, I had the pleasure of interviewing Tiffany Antoine from meditatinghuman.com. Tiffany, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing super. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? Because I listened to a couple of your podcasts on YouTube when I was out walking this morning, and I didn't get a lot of the details, but I detected some similarities between your philosophies and mine. So it made me curious as to your journey.
Sure. And so I had a very traumatic childhood, which carried me into adulthood from a space of anger and not understanding, mainly because one, I didn't deal with those underlying issues. I didn't know how to deal with those issues. And this may sound really silly, but I didn't know that you were really supposed to deal with those issues within yourself, right? I was still at a point where I was externalizing everything. How I started my journey, I was just tired of being angry. I was tired of things not working out. I was tired of not feeling in control of myself, in control of my life. And again, not knowing that, one, I can actually do that. And then when I would get kind of insights, really short insights into, like, no, you can control your life, then it's, well, how do I do that? I grew up Catholic, and that wasn't necessarily a thing because I grew up understanding that everything was external to me and it wasn't necessarily internal. So not understanding that I needed to reflect back inwards and work on myself and really take in the dark, really look into the dark to understand exactly who I was, why I was feeling the way that I was feeling, take control of the situation, and then move forward in a manner that made me happy, as opposed to trying to make everyone else happy. A friend of mine gave me the book, The Secret. That's where that started. Read the book. I didn't know law of attraction was a thing. I was really excited about it, so much so that I bought the audiobook and the actual video and watched it 24/7 and listened to it 24/7. Got into my meditations, got into binaural beats, and it just kind of snowballed from there because I actually started to see the changes in my life. And the changes really stemmed from the way I thought about things, my perception about things, and how I was actually moving forward in dealing with things. It's been a 25-year journey thus far, and it's going to be a lifetime effort. But understanding that when I first started that, and I look back on that, I mean, it was difficult. It was hard because no one said that I had to be able to embrace the dark and dredge up all of this stuff that took me years to repress because I didn't want to deal with that. No one said that I would probably go into a depression because I get to deal with everything all over again in order to heal that trauma and then understand where that trauma stemmed from and why it even started. And so all that to say, because I don't want to scare anyone away from their journey. I think it's a wonderful, fantastic thing. But understanding the strength and the bravery that's needed and the motivation that's needed in order to like really move forward and get a grasp and a hold on things and on your life and on your journey in order to successfully move forward. Because I don't think that's spoken about enough.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it can be scary, but I will tell you, it's not as scary as you think. And when you encounter fear, you've probably heard this. You have two choices. You can forget everything and run, or you can face everything and rise.
There you go.
And I'm here to tell you, and I suspect Tiffany is here to tell you, that you are much more powerful than you ever imagined.
That's right.
You have it within you to look within yourself to blow it out of the water. You can get in there and start digging in and find all this stuff. You can handle it, and as tough as it is, and as painful as it can be, the joy you get from it is 100 times greater than what you go through. It's,
Agreed.
it's like I tell people what I did to lose weight, and they go, "Oh, that sounds like it was hard." And I go, "No, that was easy. Walking around at 367 pounds was hard. That took a lot of work. Just
Right.
like you, walking around with all the anger that you were carrying and everything that you were repressing, that was hard.
That's right.
Letting it
It's
go. And something tells me, from what little I know of you, you were like, "I am Tiffany, hear me roar." Woo! You know, um, and I'll put it even simpler. The switch that you did, you stopped blaming and you started fixing.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, really started coming into my own power. Understanding who I was, and then embracing that, and I stopped allowing people to dictate who I was and what I wanted to do, um, and how I wanted my life to move forward. And once I stopped abdicating my power on many levels, things started to come together for me. And you're right. When you get on the other side of that, that is a wonderful, beautiful, and amazing thing, because it's worth all of that you have to go through in order to get to the other side. But then it also shows you and reinforces what you're made of, that you are this powerful being, and that you can go through that, you can heal that, and that you can move on from that.
Can I add something to that? The very, okay, I'll ask it to you this way. As painful as it was for everything you went through,
Mm-hmm.
and taking into account the experience and what you learned from what you went through, are you sorry you went through it?
Not at all. I would do it again, and I've been doing it again. Um,
Every
when
day.
Every day, when you go through it, very particularly the dark night of the soul, when you go through it, it's ongoing. It may be varying degrees of it, but it's ongoing. This is not the first or last hill that you're going to have to traverse and get to the other side of, because other things will come up. But being able to take strength and solace in the fact that if I did it before, I can do it again. That just is what it is. And I will accomplish this. Having that faith in yourself to be able to move forward and past it.
And you also have learned these things, that it's now your privilege to help teach other people. You would have never had that had you not gone through this.
Absolutely. Because how can I teach someone something that I don't know, something that I haven't gone through myself? Helping people to understand that what they're going through is absolutely normal for them. Their experience of overcoming is normal for them, and that they shouldn't feel ashamed of that. They should absolutely feel proud of it. The circumstances that got them to where they are, and now they're at a point where they're wanting to heal, that only shows them, like, this only shows you how strong you actually are. Like, don't let the experience put you down. It's showing you who you really are, and then taking hold of that power.
That which does not break you makes you stronger.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you've obviously come a long way.
Yes.
And does it ever make you wonder as you're doing your daily meditation? And I think I already know the answer to this, but does it ever make you wonder, what am I going to do next?
Um, it does sometimes, because sometimes I feel like I hit a wall. And so, yeah, what am I going to do next? But I mean, I let my higher self guide me into what's next for me in terms of my own potential growth and my own potential understanding, whether it be different practices, whether it be helping people out, whether it be an expansion of um, my knowledge base, which now is an expansion of my knowledge base on top of, having the privilege to help people out. And so, and it's so funny that you're bringing this up, because when I was doing my walking meditation this morning, I was just like
There
speaking to
are
my
no
higher self.
coincidences. There are no coincidences.
That's right. That you are right. Right. There are no coincidences. I was thinking about that this morning, and I was like, and talking to my higher self, and the response, I was talking about a particular topic, and the response was, "We just need you to follow the breadcrumbs. That's it. You don't necessarily need to know exactly what you're going to do next or how things are going to plan out. You just need to be able to follow the breadcrumbs that we lay down for you, with the understanding that it will get you to where you need to go." Um, and that's a huge deal for me, because you're speaking with someone who likes control,
Mhm.
which is a trauma response. And I recognize that, who likes control and likes to know the entire picture as opposed to just the next step. So, really understanding that on a deep cellular level was a huge win for me, because although I knew that, understanding it that way didn't come about literally until this morning.
Ah, so you're still a work in progress.
I will always be a work in progress.
You, I'm a believer that the universe wants to help us.
Agree.
It wants us to be happy. It wants us to get what we want. But quite often we get in our own way.
Agreed. Agreed. I'm going to let you finish your thought.
No, I'm done. Go
Are you
ahead.
done? Okay. Um, I just had this conversation yesterday, by the way. Um, things are not as right, That's right. Thank you, Stanley. Things are not as complicated as we think they are. We get in our own way by making things way more complex than they really need to be. Because when you actually get that clarity around a particular topic or issue, it's the simplest thought ever. You start getting into the obviousness of the truth. It's the simplest thing ever. It's just that you understand it on another level. We go through all of this rigmarole in order to gain understanding. Meanwhile, if we just kind of step aside and let it take us where we need to take us, we will understand it. That one liner, this whole big complex situation, this whole big complex thought, the solution is usually just a one liner. This is what it is. Without the hoopla, without the fireworks, you just get this deep understanding of the lesson that you are being taught, so that you can now it becomes a part of you, and you can implement that in your life.
To put it even simpler, life is simple. People make it difficult.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
And I wanted to go back to a thought you made a few minutes ago when you said you encounter walls, or you're at a wall. I, you called it a wall. I call it obstacles. Same thing. Um, I've become of the belief that obstacles are not walls.
Agreed.
They're not barriers. Obstacles are doorways inviting you to walk through.
Yep. We say the same thing because I always say obstacles are opportunities in disguise.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But it's all in your mindset. It's all how you look at it and shifting.
That's
If
right.
and we have a tendency to get wrapped up in all this negativity.
Yeah.
And the negativity, it's a loop. It reinforces itself, reinforces itself, reinforces itself.
Right.
The trick is to identify that, catch yourself, become aware of it, and then break it.
That's right.
And
That's
then
right.
form positive loops. I mean,
Exactly.
like example, I made up my mind several years ago, and it sounds like you did the same thing. Um, I made up my mind that every day when I get up in the morning, I go for a walk. And I don't mean a 10-minute walk, I mean a nice healthy walk.
Right.
But I not that there's anything wrong with a 10-minute walk, but I'm just saying the long walk.
Right.
And I do that every morning. And it's to the point where to show you how it can be complicated or it can be simple. If I had to sit there and get up every morning and go, am I going to go for a walk today? I've got to go do this. I got to go do that. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I slept 30 minutes less last night. I'd rather sleep another 30 minutes. I want to go do this. I want to go do that. If I could do that,
Right.
I could just sit there and say, I'm Stanley Bronstein. I'm a person who walks every day. I'm going for a walk. Period. Boom. End of story. It makes things very simple.
Exactly.
I mean, that's how my dog looks at it.
But that makes sense though. You're absolutely right. I think it's definitely it's having that determination and that you're not using any excuses. You're not giving yourself an excuse. Really, you're not giving yourself an excuse to fail.
No,
You know what I mean?
I
Like you
don't
can
feel,
do
I don't
it.
feel.
Go do it.
Yeah, it's just like healthy eating.
Right.
I don't, people say, well, what happens if I went to a party and there was all this pizza and all this other stuff out there in front of me. And somebody said, is it hard for you to not eat that? I said, no, it's easy for me to not eat that. I said, that's not what I eat.
Right. That's right.
Period. End of story. There's no question.
Right. There you go.
But it took me a long time to get to that point.
That's right. Those baby steps are absolutely priceless.
Yes. So it's like, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, whatever you can do it. The whole point is taking action. Decide what your goals are and then take action that's consistent with those goals.
Yep.
Or as Tony Robbins puts it, never leave the scene of a decision without taking action toward the realization of that decision.
That's right.
You
It
know,
makes total sense.
yeah. But it makes so much sense that it's a wonder we don't all do that.
Because like you said, we get in our own way. We get in our own way. And then if you are, but then it's also to come in a point where you have to be honest with yourself. Um, do you actually want to do this?
Yeah.
It's having that conversation with yourself. I mean, there are a lot of things that I do now that when the idea first came to me, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Like I wasn't in a place where I was ready to do it. But when I was ready to do it, I was absolutely ready to do it. And
Yeah.
taking those smaller steps to that end goal. A lot of people hear like, oh, yeah, but I meditate 3 hours a day. Oh, but I'm walking, 10 and 15 miles a day and understand and thinking that they have to do that. Not at all.
No, you don't. Not at all.
Because I didn't, no one's, God bless people who have, but like I didn't start with walking 10 miles a day. That was not my journey. I started with walking 1 or 2 miles a day.
I started walking one block.
Yeah, but that's perfect. That's the perfect example. You didn't start at like 15 miles. You started with a block and then allow that to grow. I think that sometimes we are our own biggest detractors because it's like we start comparing ourselves to other people and like, I can't do that because I'm not doing that. Right. But one, give yourself grace. Two, you're just starting. So no, you're not going to be able to do 15 miles a day. Start with doing the one block. Start with walking 5 minutes. Start with sitting down with your own thoughts, with no distractions. 5 minutes by yourself. It's the consistency
Yes.
that makes the transformation. It's the and people, because that's not really advertised or told to us, but it's the consistency that makes the difference. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, it all adds up.
Absolutely. And I want to state something right here to anybody listening. The things that we are saying, the goal is not to create another Stanley Bronstein. The goal is not to create another Tiffany Antoine. The goal is to create the best you that
Agreed.
you want to be, that you can be. And all these things, don't beat yourself up if you make mistakes. Don't beat yourself if you fall down. Just keep going, get back up. And and it's interesting. I make it sound so easy when I look at weight loss now. But if you think about it, I I started my journey, my serious journey, when I was 4 months before my 50th birthday. And I woke up and I decided, boom, this is what I'm going to start doing now. So now the question is, I mean, I literally changed my life like that.
Right.
The only problem was it took me 49 and a half years to get to the point where I was ready to change my life like that.
Right.
And what people like Tiffany and I do is help you get to that point a little bit faster.
Absolutely. And to provide that support
Yeah.
and understanding that the mistakes are, and they're not even mistakes. But
Learning.
the learning, maybe you're backsliding because there are things that you need to deal with to continue on that path that you are, that you're walking. So it's not even mistakes or backsliding. There's a purpose to all of that.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
It is absolutely part of the process.
Uh,
It may not feel good while you are going through the process where you're like, oh my God, I'm backsliding and now I'm not, walking the way I should, or I'm not eating the way that I should, or I'm not focused on my spirituality the way that I should. Um, Again, give yourself grace and understand what else do you need to take a look at in order to move forward in that journey. Sometimes, a lot of the times, so-called backsliding is it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to revisit things that maybe you have not fully healed.
yeah, absolutely. So, what kinds of things are you working on now? You obviously help a lot of people, but tell us about Meditating Human a little bit, please.
Sure. And so I started Meditating Human. So I started with my courses. So I have courses on Meditating Human. I'm in the process of building an app, MH Guru, but I started it because my journey, when I started my journey, there were um, a lot of complex concepts, a lot of practices that I didn't fully understand. And I couldn't really find anyone or anything to kind of simplify it for me. And so I had to simplify it. I had to understand it on a deep level and then simplify it for myself so that I can use it in a very practical way. And so I started Meditating Human to help people with that aspect of their spiritual journey, which was taking complex concepts, simplifying it, and making it as practical as possible, using everyday language, making it practical so that people can turn around and implement those practices in their life so that they can see their own transformation in their life. And so that's how I came about with Meditating Human and the courses and the app, MH Guru, that should be out by the end of the year. I started that because a lot of people's complaints were, I need help either developing a routine or I need help being consistent in my current practice, in my current routine. And I found in having conversations with different people that they're beating themselves up. You know, I'm not this good person. I'm not this good spiritual practitioner because I'm
Yet,
not doing.
yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, right. And so I'm not being able. I'm not doing this, and so I need help. People are saying, like, I need help to build a routine. How do I build this routine? My life is so busy. How do I implement this? And not, I don't want to meditate for a whole hour a day. And you don't have to. Again, we go back to just building that consistency throughout your journey. And so the app, not only does it help to simplify a lot of these complex practices, but it's also helping you to either build or maintain that consistency within your practice, and it's personalized based on your input, because I think the personalization is also a very important factor in everyone's journey.
You're building a system.
I am building a system. I am building an ecosystem. Yes, I am.
And by building the system, you make it easier for people. Follow the system, trust the system, do the system. You can do it in your own way, but do the system because it produces results. So that's the same thing I do with people. I have a system that I take them through, and it's the same thing I do when I help people with weight loss.
Right.
You just follow the thing and realize you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days. You may slip up. Don't beat yourself upside the head. Life beats you up enough as it is.
That's right.
Don't help it out, and just start doing the right thing again, and you'll get there. I mean, I remember when I first started losing weight, I would wake up in the middle of the night. It was like a nightmare. I would have nightmares that I ate something I wasn't supposed to do. And I'd wake up in a cold sweat. And then I'd go, oh, wait a minute. That was just a dream. I didn't actually do that.
Right.
Oh, that's okay. But it's your mind does funny things to you,
It certainly does.
but you can control is the wrong word, I think, but you can work with it. You can
Okay.
learn to understand yourself better, cut yourself more slack, those kind of things. Um,
Absolutely.
as we go to wrap this up, anything you want to add to what we've said?
Um, I think that it is important for people to understand, whether it be their weight loss journey, whether it be their eating healthy journey, whether it be meditation, mindfulness, whatever their practice is, all of it is just another way for you to come into your power. I'm a huge fan of people coming into their understanding who they really are, coming into their power, and then embracing that power. And so all of this, what you're doing, what I'm doing, what other people, what other like-minded people are doing, it's just another way for you, from different perspectives of it, but it's just another way for you to come into your power. And if you are on your path, or you're wanting to be on your path, if you're listening to this conversation, that means that it's time and that you are moving forward in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I'll close with a thought. What happens if Tiffany figures out her path? If Stanley figures out his path? If a few thousand people who might listen to this get on their path, and they talk to some other people to get on their path, and more people get on their path, this world might be a little bit better place, don't you think?
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
That's how we do it. And that's why Tiffany gets up in the morning.
That is correct. That is my motivation, and why you get up in the morning, and you're on your path. And so I totally agree with you.
Absolutely. I'm not going to stop until I've changed the world
There you go. And how do you change the world?
by changing yourself.
There we go. Absolutely.
It's the old butterfly effect.
That's right. That is absolutely right. I forgot about the butterfly effect, but you are absolutely right.
I'll tell anybody listening, in case you don't know, the butterfly effect is the theory that a butterfly flapping its wings on one side of the world can change the other side of the world
That's right.
by effects from doing that. Thank you very much. This has been a pleasure.
It's been fantastic, Stanley, and I deeply appreciate the conversation and your feedback and your insights, and thank you to your audience as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.